Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Ken
And I'm Lindsay.
and this is our cruise review of the year 2021. We were very lucky this year in the fact that we were able to have 5 cruises. We had 3 staycation cruises,
And 2 internationals.
2 internationals, and they were on 4 different ships and
With 3 different operators.
3 different operators. So we've been very, very lucky this year. Obviously things this year were a little bit different than they have been in the past because of the COVID situation. But to be fair, it wasn't that different, was it?
No, the regulations as to what you had to do with masks and things like that is very similar to what it is at home. So it really didn't seem to impede our enjoyment of the holidays.
No, not really at all. So if we start with Embarkation, the Embarkation process was a little bit more complicated because you had to queue up and get a COVID test before you were actually allowed to board the ship. And you had extra health questionnaires, but not a lot different to usual.
However, I will say that the staff that were there guided you through every piece of direction that you had to go through, whether it was actually taking the test or then being guided through the different places in the actual embarkation. It was all very well organised.
Very well organised. We only had one hiccup at Embarkation, really,
Yeah, we did.
and that was on our final cruise of the year in December, where we were due to sail on Queen Mary 2 for the very first time, and it was one of our actual bucket lists.
It was, but it was very unfortunate that there had been a really bad storm just before she sailed, and so Iona was a day late coming in, which threw everything out for the port staff and made it a little bit disorganised.
Yeah, it was a little bit. We think they were understaffed, but then they had an extra 3,000 people to test at very short notice, and getting it staffed up was probably a difficulty. And there was also a difficulty on the day as well. They obviously had some sort of IT problem. Nobody told us about it, but there was some, because not a single person was tested at the drive-in for an hour and a half. And we were just sat there waiting, not having a clue what was going on.
I think it might have helped everybody's situation if they'd actually let people know that there was a problem with the testing. If it is an IT problem, and it does happen from time to time, then just let people know. We were the last car to go through for Queen Mary.
Yes.
We were the last people to get our results, and we were the very last people to get on the ship.
Yes, and it was a bit of a shame really, because I was really looking forward to the welcome on board Cunard that you get with the guys in their bellboy costumes and sort of greeting you, and unfortunately we didn't have that.
No, but that's all explained in the embarkation
It is.
video that we did.
Yeah, but however we will see that next year when we rebook and take another cruise on Queen Mary,
Yes,
because we really enjoyed it.
yes we did.
Going back to our first cruise that we had this year, which was on Britannia, and in fact was Britannia's first cruise out.
Mm-hmm.
What was the thing that sticks in your mind most about that cruise?
Oh, just getting on board really, and that feeling of just treading the decks and setting sail and everything to do with it really.
I seem to remember one particular point in time when we were out on the balcony on the afternoon. We were sailing out from Southampton, and you made this excuse me, you made this little speech about how wonderful it was, and you got really emotional about it.
I just can't believe it.
Can't believe what?
Well, after all that we've been through, after all that everybody's been through, I just can't believe that we're here. We're looking out onto this beautiful ocean, and it's just lovely.
Yes.
And it was quite touching.
Well, thank you. Well, it was the first one that we did with our friend Anne.
Oh yes, and she's memorable.
That was quite funny at times.
Yeah.
Bless her heart.
Yeah.
She had a lot to put up with as well.
She had a lot to put up with us, nagging her constantly all the time.
Yeah.
One of the things that I remember about Anne was the conversation we had on Regal Princess with Stanley Bear. To me, a personal question. Do you prefer blondes?
Oh yeah.
Oh!
You really like blondes. Yes, that was very funny.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. She was determined to get a Stanley Bear, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, and not only that, just to experience the room service, had him delivered to the cabin.
Yeah. So, food-wise,
Yeah.
on Britannia, what about that first meal we had on board?
And it was all tables for two, essentially.
Yeah.
But it was your if you were on that tier, then it was your travelling companions. But yes, as I remember, it was very wet.
Yes, it was quite wet. Yeah.
They were terribly glad to see us to relieve themselves of some of the wine that they had in the bottles.
Yes, they probably had it there for 2 years, and they were really pleased to get rid of it from us. And we did our best.
Well, yes, politely.
Yeah, and I think that's the other memorable thing for me on the first cruise out was the staff.
Yeah.
And the passengers. Everybody on that first cruise was so happy to be there. That the passengers were all happy. Everyone was very pleasant speaking. Hello, how are you? Nice to see you. All the staff were so happy to be there. Oh, hello, welcome back. And it was just a really warm feeling on that cruise. And I'd say it was the same on Regal Princess.
Yeah. Regal Princess, the staff are slightly different in that their whole ethos is to be a little bit more relaxed.
Yep.
So they appear as though they know you right from the start, rather than with P&O they're a little bit more aloof until they know you a little bit more.
Slightly more reserved and slightly more respectful. Not that the guys on Regal were disrespectful, because they weren't. But of course they had the advantage, because when you got within 10 feet of them, they knew what your name was and they were calling you by your first name.
Yeah.
With the medallion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we'll mention much about the medallion.
No.
I think we did that in one of our previous blogs. So if you want to find out all about the medallion, good or bad, and there were both.
There was both.
There was both. Yeah. Just look it up and see in one of our previous videos. So Princess, the memorable thing on Princess for me is Sabatini's.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there.
We had a wonderful meal and Sabatini's, and it wasn't just the meal. The maitre d', the staff, they were something special in there. Why is it that all the staff on Princess seem to be entertainers?
Yeah, they were all performing. That I suppose that's the difference between them, is that they are real performers. And of course, one of the other memorable things was meeting up with Paul and Carol from Paul and Carol.
Love to travel. They kept us up.
They forced us to stay up.
They forced us to stay up really, really late.
They did.
And keep drinking.
Yes. And eating.
And eating. Then they forced us to go to the International Cafe.
They did, yes.
At about 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. And
it was very dark.
It was very dark. Well, it was outside. And I ended up eating a cheeseburger pie, which,
I think you and Paul had similar views on it.
Yeah, it was as bizarre as it sounded, because it was just bizarre. It was mincemeat and something in pastry, but it wasn't really a cheeseburger pie. I don't know what it was really. So then we come on to Iona.
Yes.
And what was your first impression of Iona when you walked in?
She's beautiful. She appears to be absolutely massive, and I think that's because of the way that they've created the spaces, especially in the atrium area, where it's wide open spaces and then surrounded by glass. And 3 stories of it. It's amazing. But all the corridors are wide, and it just gives everything that aura of just almost being outside.
I mean, to be fair, we didn't think that we were going to like Iona, did we? It was sort of 5,200 passengers and all those children and how horrible. We probably saw her at her best for us, because we went on in September.
Yeah.
End of August, September. And how many people on board? Just over 2,500.
Yeah, I think so.
So she was half full, but boy, oh boy, what a beautiful ship! I think she's gorgeous.
Yeah, she's very, very nice. Some of the entertainment wasn't actually being performed because there was an issue with the aerialists, and so they had to go back into rehearsal mode.
Yeah.
While things were being sorted out, but that was largely safety issues, and it's a real shame because we really wanted to see that. But we saw most of the other bits and pieces, and there were odd pieces of entertainment that popped up, which was really nice. So you walk down through the corridor and all of a sudden find a group of musicians playing and think to yourself, oh, I wish I'd known they were there. But it was very nice, actually.
The night we came through and the sea shanty people were in the atrium, and you thought, oh wow. Oh.
Where did they come from?
Yeah. And the food choices was the other thing that got to me. I mean, we tried most of them. We didn't go to the Epicurean because we'd done it a few weeks before on Britannia, and it was the same menu. But you preferred the food in Sindhu to the other Sindhus.
It was a different menu, and although I'm not really a fan of Indian food, the Sindhu on Iona was much more to my liking. I really didn't like the keel and cow that much.
Keel and cow was okay.
It was just a disappointment.
Didn't like where it was. It's sort of in the middle of a walk-through space.
But it's a steakhouse. You can go to one of those at home.
Yeah.
I like to do things on ship that I can't necessarily do at home.
Yeah, Glasshouse I think was a disappointment compared to when we went to it on Britannia a few weeks earlier.
And since.
Yeah, and since. Loved it on Britannia, but the menus on Iona were not to our liking. The big winner, Olive Grove.
Oh,
wow, fantastic.
Don't tell anybody.
No.
But it's the most amazing place to eat.
Yeah.
And don't tell anybody. The first thing you should do on the ship when you get onto Iona is go and book a table. Please don't tell anybody about that because it's our little secret.
Yes.
But yeah, the food is amazing.
Yeah.
The service, the ambience of the restaurant, and the fact that if you're in warmer climes, you can actually choose to eat outside, almost on a terrace. It really has been done extremely well.
I love it. Really do love it. But the main dining rooms, I mean, the menus seem to be reduced.
I think that was the same on all of them.
From what they were, and a huge choice of vegetarian food on P&O at the moment. Every meal, there's half the choices are vegetarian.
Yes, you can go gluten-free, sugar-free, meat-free, everything free if you like, all in one dish.
You can, but the only thing it did mean that the other choices for those of us that like to eat meat and fish
and sugar
were a little reduced. But they were our 3 staycation cruises.
They were, yeah.
Then we come on to Britannia.
Yeah, we went back on Britannia.
We did. It was a sort of last minute decision, but we booked up and went. So different than when we were on it before. Not the ship, not what was happening on board, but the people.
Not the staff,
the passengers. I mean, the thing that really got me, and it was exactly the same on Britannia the first time we were on there, was the lifts. So Britannia has a problem with its lifts anyway, because in the middle, because there's no stairs, the lifts, you can wait an eternity to get one. But that's no excuse for people's bad behaviour in the lifts. So when you're in a lift, pet hate, somebody presses to call the lift out on the set, and they may be a little bit older or disabled or whatever, or in a wheelchair, and the people inside the lift close the door before the people have got a chance to get to the lift. And I just find that so rude. And it happened so much on that cruise.
And actually, while we're on the subject of lifts,
yes,
the one thing I will say about, I think it was Iona,
yes,
that the doors closed so quickly.
Oh yeah, you've got to be a bit quick.
Yeah, you've got to be off the mark. If you don't get a shift on when those doors open, they're closed and it's gone. It's very swift.
Yes.
So please be warned about that. They do have a habit of closing very quickly.
Yes. So, talk a little bit now about things that were slightly different that we missed. but it wasn't the end of the world. Things I missed, certainly on P&O, was daytime activities.
Yeah.
There seemed very little to do on board during the day, unless you were going to the gym or having a foot spa or finding out about jewellery, or it was all upselling, wasn't it? All the daytime activities, well, not all, but a lot
Vast
of the
majority.
daytime activities were all about selling you something, whether it be something in the spa, something in the shops. We missed the choir. We missed.
I'm sure the choir didn't miss us.
We missed no, they probably didn't. We missed the deck sports. They were still available, but no organised deck sports.
No. Interestingly, on Iona, there was a really good system of, and an awful lot of people doing it, was going to book courts to the extent that we couldn't play shuffleboard against one another one day. So we decided that we would try quoits for the first time ever. And I decided I quite liked it. Why was that?
Because you beat me nearly every time. Apart from one day
Yeah.
when I took you to the cleaners.
Yeah.
And I have no idea why.
No, I just let you win.
It's just bizarre. You must have let me know. But yeah, so I mean, the entertainment evening was brilliant, particularly on P&O. I think
Yeah,
I think the production shows on P&O with the Headliners Theatre Company are absolutely outstanding these days.
I think they far outweigh the ones that we saw on Princess and Cunard.
Yes, the production of the shows.
Production of the shows,
I
yeah.
don't think the performance was any the less on Cunard. I think the performance was a bit lacking on Princess, but yeah, Mr. Tickerton's. Unbelievable.
Yeah. There are several shows at the moment that P&O are doing that really are not to be missed.
Yeah.
Whether you like stage shows or not, they have to be seen to be believed in some respects, bearing in mind that they are in the middle of an ocean and at times they are bobbing around a little bit. So the performers and the technicians have to be well and truly admired.
There were some good comedians on.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Tucker twice
Yeah.
on Britannia. Was he on Britannia both times or Britannia and Iona? I can't remember. Excellent. There were some other comedians we saw good. But we also saw Andrew Fleming. Wow. Well, I won't be going to see Mr. Fleming again. He was like something that had been transported out of the early 1970s.
Again, we did make mention of this in one of our previous vlogs, so you might want to catch that as well.
So that brings me to the moment that we walked ashore off of Britannia.
Yeah.
The first time we set foot on foreign soil for a couple of years. That was another momentous occasion.
It was, yeah.
In my mind. It wasn't particularly nice weather. It was quite windy and pretty awful, but
It was just nice to be able to do it.
yeah, it was just nice.
Then the last port that we did on that particular cruise was Gibraltar. And Gibraltar, we've got very, very fond memories of. It's a lovely place for us. It's not everybody's taste. But just to be able to go back to Gib, as we call it, and walk down through Main Street, feeling like it's home, and dropping into our local.
Locals,
yeah, locals. But our original local, the Anglo Fire. And having a chat with the owner there, and finding out that yes, they've been all right through all this. But just to be able to do that, and for her to sort of look around and go, "Oh, you know me." But yeah, it was just very comfortable and homely, and it's nice to be back.
Yeah. So Queen Mary 2, our first time, it was on one of our bucket list. This was the third attempt at going on there, and the last one was only cancelled in October when we had a 5-day sort of taster cruise to Northern Europe, and that was cancelled. And she changed all her itineraries again when she started up because of the prohibition in America for travel still. So we ended up doing a 3-day taster. As you've already heard, Embarkation was a nightmare, but it's special. Yeah. Special. Everything was You know, afternoon tea was just a little bit special. The service in the restaurants and the bars was just a little bit special. When you go into the dining room and you got 20 waiters queued up there, just standing
bidding,
there with their towels on their arm and
just bidding you good evening.
just
It's
bidding
just
you
amazing.
good evening.
I would say that the service is a little bit more flamboyant than some of the others, and it's just the flick of the wrist sometimes when they pour the tonic into your gin, and it's a tiny little flick, but you notice it and you, oh, that's different, and it's just a little bit. Everything's just that little bit extra.
Mind you are paying for it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, around the 3 gins for me and Anne was $45, including the service charge. But
they were big ones.
Yeah, they were large ones. But you are paying for it. But we will definitely be going back again, because we would both agree, I think, that 2 full days on there was just not enough.
Not enough time to see everything properly, and we felt that we were dashing from one thing to the other to try and see everything without actually having too much time to sit down and enjoy it too much. We would spend a half an hour or an hour in one bar and then move on to something else. It might be some entertainment, and it was just like that the whole time. Whereas it would have been nice to have, I don't know, just to sit down and in the Commodore Club and just to sit and watch out through the window and have a bit of time up there during the day to see what it was like, because the atmosphere at night is very different up there.
Yeah, but there's one thing I will say, that during the day on Queen Mary 2 there was lots going on.
Yeah.
Lots and lots and lots. Still no deck sports and things like that, but there were
You
lots.
could, but again, it was under your own steam. It wasn't a competition.
But there were lots of other things going on.
Yeah. And then it was, unlike Britannia, it has a full wraparound deck.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that we really enjoyed on Iona too.
Yep.
It's a deck that you really don't have to walk around too much to do your steps, because it's huge. But the one on Queen Mary, it is just so wide. And to be able to go out and actually sit in one of those chairs, I've been waiting to do that for a long time. Sad, isn't it? But it's a really nice deck to walk around. I know that sounds a bit weird, but if you're used to cruising with a wraparound deck, you may know what I mean. As you walked out those doors, it was just so nice, wide, lovely amount of room. If you had 100 people going around there, you'd never bump into anybody because it was so wide. Lovely, really nice.
And the other little things, like in the King's Court buffet, the little window seat areas, the little alcoves that went out towards the...
You see, we never got a chance to do that either.
No, we never got a chance to do that. But, I think we've been very lucky this year. We've now got to wait until the middle of February for our next one on Iona. See, we did like her. We're going back again. Again, that was using up the last of our FCC. And then we're off on Aurora, hopefully. Twice. And then next year we've got a very special one, another bucket list holiday. We're off on Sky Princess for 25 nights to USA and Canada. And
if they let us in.
If they let us in. I'm really quite looking forward to that one.
Yes, because we'll be able to go back into one of those princess beds.
As you can see, we've been joined by our little friend here, Dax, who's our little Jack Russell dog, who loves coming in the videos, don't you?
Yeah, you always like to go beyond the television, don't you?
Yeah. And it's been nice of those of you who've actually commented about him as well, like to see him. So,
Oh yes, he's talking now.
Hi Dax, he's talking as well, yeah. So it just remains for us to say thank you very much to all of you for supporting us over this last 6 months. We hope you've enjoyed coming cruising with us. We've certainly enjoyed doing it, haven't we, dear?
We have, yes, very much so. Yeah, and it's been nice to meet one or two of you as well on the ship. It's always a bit of a surprise for somebody to turn up and just say, "Oh, hello, your Ken goes cruising." It's a bit, it takes us back a bit, but it's really good fun and lovely to meet people. So if you see us on the ships next year and the year after, then please don't hesitate to come across and say hello. Don't be surprised if we're a bit shocked.
Yeah, it was really nice meeting people this year. So it just remains for us to say happy cruising for 2022, and we'll see you soon.
Stay safe.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.